Right on, writers, and welcome first time viewers to the Books by Adrian Author platform. This is Tuber Book Club, where we read books written by author tubers, discuss them. Occasionally, we interview the author afterwards, and we write reviews to help out our author tube buddies. Thank you so much for being here. Those of you who are here, I already see some of you in the chat. Welcome. Thank you very much for being here. As my panelists arrive, I'll be bringing them out. So far, we have one in-house. And as we each come in, we're just going to give our sort of spoiler-free talks, if that's possible, on the second half of Nightmare Tenant by Richard Holliday, which is what we're discussing today. I'll start with my thoughts and then I'll bring in my next guest and so on and so forth. Okay, so hello everyone in the chat. Amelia, I see you. Chris, Richard, of course. Welcome. And Shannon is in there, of course. Thank you all for being here. I should probably do the thing. Yeah, there you go. Like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. You know what to do. Okay, so spoiler-free thoughts on the second half of Nightmare Tenant. The short of it is, I like it. It's a lot of fun. I feel, again, that it's in dire need of a proofread, not even a proofread, a straight up line edit, and then maybe a proofread after that. But otherwise, I consider it to be a very, very good debut novel for a brand new author who I think we should all be watching what comes out of next, because he's definitely got some potential. He's got some moves. Now, the book itself, in my opinion, has some tonal shift issues. Sometimes it feels like a Sam Raimi movie, which is like scary and funny at the same time. And other times the funny came off as cheesy or something. And I wasn't sure if it was intentional, but if it was, then, that's a tone shift kind of issue. And then in the grand climax, I felt it got a little superhero-y. But you know what? We're gonna talk about it. We're gonna hash it out all together, and see what we all think of Nightmare Tenant. All right. So those are my thoughts. Again, I like it, but needs improvement, and that's good. That's good, because you know what? Everybody's first novel is always their worst, and they only get better from there. And if that's the case, I can't wait to see what Richard Holliday does next. All right, y'all, let's get our next very special guest out here, a regular on Tuber Book Club, and one of our favorites, SD Houston. Miss Houston, hello.
Hi, sorry, I was kind of confused when you started doing like your overall thoughts for the book. I'm like, wait, I'm not supposed to be part of that conversation. So I was like confused.
We'll each go one by one, and then we'll jump into the spoiler talk after that. Please share your thoughts and introduce yourself.
I'm doing a comment real quick because I just started participating in the chat since I wasn't on screen yet.
Copy that. Yeah. And while you talk, I'll get caught up on the chat because I haven't been keeping up. Let's take a look. You go ahead. Richard's here. Chris, hello everyone. The footy. Uh-oh. Oh, football. Okay. My first thought was foot fetish for some reason. So, Miss Shannon.
Hold on, I didn't get a chance to set up my camera.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead. We're all running a little behind today.
Yeah, just a bit.
It's all good. It's all good.
Too much boobs.
What's going on with you lately, and what are your spoiler-free thoughts on the second half of Nightmare Tenant?
So second half, I was anticipating more. My thoughts were I thought there was gonna be a lot more that was gonna happen, and so I thought, oh well, it's not what I thought it was going to be. So I think I threw too much fantasy into my thought process of how that was going to turn out.
Yeah, I agree. I also expected more. The first half had definitely a lot of promise, I feel like.
Yeah.
If this turns out to be a series, that's an opportunity for him to expand greatly on the kind of stuff that's been going on. But if this is a standalone, then yeah, the second half could have been a little beefed up, for sure.
I really love the idea that he brought forward. No spoilers. So I really loved an idea he brought forward in the second half, which was hinted at in the first half, and I would have loved to have seen that a little bit stronger.
We'll talk. Okay, I'm interested to see what you're referring to, because I wonder if I picked up on the same thing. Amelia says hi to Shannon. So does Chris. Hello, everyone. Don't take it personally. I was just bringing your intro up. Oh man. Um. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right. Congratulations that's finally at least getting going. I'm super excited for you guys. Like I said on your Instagram post, my boys need friends to play with. So bring on the kids. Cool gamers here. Ah yeah, you almost missed you. What's up, dude? Good to see you. Good to see you. Some compliments for Shannon. Apparently, everyone hates my dad's shirt, but you know what?
Oh,
It's laundry day, so whatever.
I guess we're both wearing red, so there's like saying Richard has to be wearing red.
Yeah, that's the thing is we're matching. We
We
planned
did
this.
color coordinate.
Our stories aren't matching up. Uh, ripped off my Nightmare Tenant 2. Oh yeah, did we? Sorry, buddy. For those of you who don't know, he's referring to "Write the Darn Story," since we have Shannon here, and in which Martin Lejeune and I write a story live in front of everybody. And yeah, maybe we kind of did. We did kind of a Twilight Zone-y thing with a motel room, but we did move away from the hotel, and now it's a motel. So doors still open.
So
See,
we were
see,
talking about the Aphrodite Inn
that's
in
right.
DL Tillery stream later.
Yeah, yeah. See, I'm still feeling Motel Portal, but we'll see what it ends up
I like
being.
that.
Because that could be a cool title for the
What do
story,
they call
Motel
that?
Portal.
Assonance? I don't know if I'm saying it right. When you
Hmm.
have a vowel sound or a middle sound of a word that rhymes. I think it's called assonance. I don't.
I don't know the word for that. If that is the word, that's new information. I learned something. Hello, hello, Blaze. Blaze. I love that he calls him Blaze. Sounds so bad. A. I'm double thinking everything I say now. Hey, Bethany's here. Bethany, hello. All right. So if you guys haven't noticed, I'm stalling a little bit because the rest of our people aren't here. Barrett, what are you doing in the chat but not in here? What's going
He
on?
said
Do you
he's
not?
still stuck at work.
Oh, is that what he said? I missed that.
Mhm.
Damn it. All right. Sorry, Barrett. Get here soon. All right. Well, then in that case, I think that we can dive in because I know that Jenna's running late. If she makes it at all, we're not sure. She has to work, and I still haven't heard anything from Tyler in like a month.
Time to take his picture off. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, yeah, right. I need.
Just kidding.
He's missed way too many episodes. No, I hope he's okay. I haven't heard from him. Okay, so guys in the chat who have read Nightmare Tenant, go ahead and start sharing your initial thoughts on the book overall. And I'll throw those up on the screen as we get into it here. Let me pull up my chapters and any notes that I may have written down. And we'll get into it pretty soon here. Yeah, I definitely am with you on that, Shannon. I definitely expected more out of the end, or the second half overall, actually.
Yeah, because there were a few things that were kind of set up to possibly be more. Um, and maybe I don't know. Richard could probably tell us this when we're having a conversation with him, right?
Yeah,
Maybe
next week. Next
next
week.
week. And maybe this is something he could tell us. Maybe he thought about wanting more, but didn't want to make the book too big, or want to save it for the next book or something. I don't know.
It is a breezy little novel. I'll give
Mhm.
him that. It does move at a decent clip, and yeah, I mean, honestly, I read the first half in one, maybe two sittings tops, and this second one I read in one sitting.
Me too.
So, yeah, it definitely speaks to the kind of like breezy kind of nature of the way that it's written. So I do like that a lot. And like I said, it is fun. If nothing else, it's entertaining. And and I mean, honestly, what more can you ask for than entertaining? It being quote unquote horror, even though he said that it's not straight up horror.
Yeah, he did say
I
that, and I kind of agree. It's not straight up horror. There
It's
were,
not, but I kind of wish that it was.
yeah,
And I'm not a huge horror fan.
I'm not.
I'm not a huge horror fan, but I feel like if you're gonna do a thing, do the thing. You know what I mean? I don't know, but that's me. But I like it. Like I said, at times it felt very Sam Raimi. If you're not a fan of horror in general, I don't know how many of his movies you've seen, but he did like the Evil Dead series. He did a movie called Drag Me to Hell, and they're all very very scary with very like big jump scares and like even like demonic imagery. They're very creepy movies, but they're hilarious. Like from start to finish, as scary as they are, they're equally funny. And it's a very, very difficult, tightrope to walk. So I'm always impressed when I see it. And I definitely see it at times in here where it would be, very creepy, scary imagery and then followed up by a hilarious situation. That being said, I also felt that the more, or at least what should have been the more emotional moments, the big payoff moments, would fall flat for me or feel, just mishandled because it usually came down to the dialogue and it would come down to what I would in the moment usually consider to be kind of cheesy dialogue for that kind of gut punch moment that you needed. And we'll talk about those as we go to. I've highlighted a few examples. All in all, in an effort to draw attention to those areas in my own writing. You know what I mean? Because like when you want your stuff to hit the audience, when you want to get an emotional reaction out of them, you definitely need to be on point. So we're starting with chapter 14. If you have any other thoughts before we dive in,
Okay.
you're good. All right. One quick look at the chat again before we go on. Oh, Barrett's on a Zoom. Okay, copy that, Barrett. Copy that. Whenever you can, bud. True Zoom style. Only they're in the background on mute. That's funny. That's what I would do too. Yes, he did do the early 2000 Spider-Man movies, the first trilogy of Spider-Man movies. He also did the latest Doctor Strange movie. But if all you've seen is his superhero stuff, you haven't really experienced true Sam Raimi. If you think of the Spider-Man 2, there's a scene in Spider-Man 2 where Doc Ock has been knocked out and he's in the hospital and they're trying to like surgically remove the arms, and as they're doing it, he wakes up and it erupts into the most horrific scene where the arms are independently killing everyone in the room. And that scene is very Sam Raimi, like where the tentacle will grab the nurse and yank her and her nails are like scraping on the ground, and like that's just classic scary Sam Raimi stuff. And in that same scene, he'll make you laugh. There's a few moments where like you're like really scared for everybody in the room, and then you get a laugh, and it's really, really hard to do. So if you like that scene at all, look into the rest of his movies because they get scary, but they're funny. An easy read in that he was able to breeze through it in one go. Agreed, I was able to breeze through it as well. Think Richard has a great handle on horror. Reminds me of James Herbert. Interesting. James Herbert. Interesting pull. Oh, he beat me to it.
Oh yeah, the latest Doctor Strange film. I saw that, and that did have some horrific elephants.
Oh.
Had some horrific elements.
Yeah.
We actually took our son. It was his first movie he had ever seen in a movie theater
Oh
because
no.
he's autistic, and when he was just about the time that we thought, okay, we can go ahead and try him out in a movie theater without having a meltdown, COVID hit. So
Sure.
we had not. So we took him to Doctor Strange, and after it was over, I said, I don't think this was the best movie because it was a little bit scary.
Yeah, I'm sure that it was. The first thing that I thought when I heard that Sam Raimi was directing the next Doctor Strange, which I haven't seen yet, was, oh, it's going to be much scarier than the first one. That's great. Like I immediately knew it was going to be scary, and so I immediately started telling everybody I knew, don't take kids to that. That's not
I
going
wish
to be a
I
kids
would have
movie.
heard that from you.
Yeah,
We would have done a different movie.
because him doing Spider-Man is one thing. He's kind of like contained by the nature of that character, but you unleash him on a super powered, like magical being who travels through dimensions and uses dark energy from like, yeah, he's going to get dark with it. He's going to get creepy with it for sure. All right, let's see what else. Oh, Jenna's checking in before she joins us. About to end. Very good. She's here in about 15. Nice. Check the like. Ruining everyone's fun day. Yeah, it totally is. Horrific elephants. It'll live in infamy. There's some wild scenes in Doctor Strange. I'm sure I can't wait to see it.
Yes.
I'm waiting for it to come on Disney Plus. I think it's 3 more days. 3 more days, I'll see Doctor Strange, and it should have been a 15. What should have been a 15? Oh, you guys are in Britain, so you guys have different ratings. You mean PG-13? Over here is PG-13. All right. Okay, so let's dive into chapter 14, shall we?
All right.
All righty. Um, so this one is where Dallas comes to Chevron Tower, which is how I'm still assuming it's pronounced. We'll find out from Richard next week if that's correct. Um, and this is where I'm trying to look at my notes on it. Here we go. This is where I started to really realize that I was not vibing with the architect as a villain. The way that he speaks, like it's just it wasn't hitting with me. It didn't feel like a dark entity haunting a building. It just didn't feel that way. It sounded like a dude. You know what I mean? Like it
Mhm.
just sounded like a guy, and I had a real trouble with that.
I kind of felt the same way, but I thought at this point I was still thinking the architect was more sympathetic toward the people and trying to protect them, but doing everything he could to stop the entity in the building. But
And so you thought that maybe his tone was a reflection of his benevolence.
yes,
Interesting.
because I
Yeah.
thought that he was going to be a separate part from the entity in the building itself,
Gotcha. Yeah, and in here,
which is
like
not what happened.
no, he was pretty much it.
Yeah.
Um, there's in this chapter, Dallas is on his way up, and the architect is, I guess, trying to like lure him in. Come on,
Mhm.
Mr. Wentworth, and it's just like, again, it just wasn't hitting. Um, there's a moment where he just writes the architect, and I don't know if it's the narrator telling us who's speaking because it's not a tag, or if it's Dallas realizing who he's speaking to. It threw me off. Um, Great use of the word gloop, though. I had to look that one up. And let's see here. And then by the end of this page here, I'm realizing that there's a real relationship. It feels to me between Dallas and the architect. They had like a lot of interaction before. You could tell from here the way that they both spoke to each other, the way that Dallas was not afraid at all. You know,
Yeah.
which which was another reason why the architect wasn't really vibing with me. It's like you'd think people would be afraid of him. I don't know. What do you think so far?
Um, I'm wondering why the architect didn't kill him the first time.
There's that. Yeah, there's a lot of that. Honestly, there's that moment later on where he is talking to what's her name, Mrs. Damn it, I'm blanking out her name. Richard, what's the magical lady's name? Throw it in the chat.
Shootberry or Shoudberry or
Yeah,
whatever you say it.
yeah,
I'm,
uh, man,
I'm,
and I know how to pronounce it too, and I'm not seeing
I
the
don't know how to pronounce it.
I uh, no, write it out, Richard. write out the name. Don't just confirm that I'm correct. Yes, Miss Chat Chat
Shootberry.
Chadbury
I guess there is no B in it. I was thinking there was a B.
Chaudhary. It's
Chaudhary?
Chaudhary.
Okay. Chaudhary.
We'll figure it out. Anyway, there's a moment that the architect has with her later on where he lets her know that he knows what she is. And when we all realize what she is later on, my first thought was, why didn't he kill her then? Why didn't he try harder to? Why hasn't he tried before or since?
Yeah,
If
because
he,
wasn't she trying to deny that's part of her?
um, I mean, her eyes like flashed yellow and everything in that scene. Like it, it seemed to me more of her like laying low, not necessarily like
Oh,
denying that side of her. More like she's in hiding, trying to live a normal life. Not hiding, but you know what I mean. Just uh, not open with her powers or whatever.
hmm,
But it was just one of those moments where I'm like, well, if he knows what she is, then he should know that she's a threat. And if he knows that she's a threat, he would have acted on that.
right.
So moments like that where the character just doesn't track. with anyway how I would have written it. There's a couple of things that I would actually even cut. Like there's a moment where this paragraph here, although he couldn't see it, the architect smiled in his lair. That was precisely his intention as Dallas made the final climb. You don't need that. Don't tell us that the bad guy is his plan is working perfectly. Show us that his plan works perfectly later on when Dallas gets up there. You know what I mean? Like, we don't need that. There's another one where he's leaving the office. He saw a figure in the lounge which had been empty, and now it wasn't. Like, I don't know, just moments where he's giving us too much and he should give us less, if that makes sense.
There was one section or one like line that I really liked, where he said, "Well, don't keep me waiting." The voice of the architect said, licking its cadence around Dallas's head.
I highlighted that same line.
Yes, I really like that line.
Where is it? I'm not seeing it, but I highlighted that same line because yes, that line is dope. That the idea of it licking around his head, it was.
And then cadence is a visual as well.
Yeah, yeah, and so this very like I don't know, it just put an image in your head, and that image was creepy, and that's what I'm looking for, man.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
And then
Yes.
I would say there's a little bit later. I was a bit confused. Just being a cowboy, is that like a negative in UK? Or I don't know if I misunderstood something. Because they're talking and he said, I could have a team here next week. They gut this place. Your team are cowboys, and so are you.
Yeah, he did kind of use it like an insult, didn't he?
Yeah, and I didn't know it, which I thought was kind of funny back to back with Dallas's name, because Dallas Cowboys is a team that's my husband's favorite football team.
I'll bet you he did that on purpose. That's interesting. See, I clashed up against that same moment, not necessarily for the use of the word cowboys, as I probably read it to mean that they were kind of like lawless or like directionless. You know what I mean? Like ineffective. But just I think it was just before or just after he compares him again to something else, and it was I don't know, just like back to back. Jenna's here. We're gonna bring her out and get her thoughts.
Yay.
Hey Jenna, you're on mute. No problem. She's not really here yet.
She's just here for pretty looks.
Yeah, right, Shane. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry. I thought I had the correct speaker set up, and I don't think y'all wanted to hear your awesome selves. Hello, everybody.
Hello,
Thank you
Jenna.
for letting me come late.
No, not a problem at all. Take the floor. Let the people know what you got going on and what your thoughts on the book in general turned out to be.
Well, I'm Jenna O'Malley, the Soul Raider. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm also the other half of the AWC AuthorTube Writing Conference. We have an update coming out tomorrow. Check the website, check the playlist, all the places. Books 1 through 3 are going through a rebrand revision at current. So yeah, also keep up. Call to action video will be coming out for some things on my channel for in the fall. So keep an eye out for that too.
All right.
But
and your thoughts?
Oh my God, Richard, you're not doing a book too? What? I thought he was setting this one up to go in line with the current project he's working on. And now I'm like, wait a minute. They're not as connected as I thought, maybe. So I wanted more in the end.
Wanted more. That seems to be the theme, Richard. We wanted more. Yeah, it feels like you were setting us up, and we were game for it, man. Like we were here for it. Next time, just don't pull any punches. Don't pull any punches. All right. So, like for in the same chapter, another example of the architect, his dialogue in particular. There's a moment where he says, you need evicting, not just from the tower, but from the world itself. And again, that's one of those instances where like it's scarier if you don't say stuff like that and you just do crazy, scary stuff rather than saying you need evicting. Like, I don't know, like it just didn't sound like a creepy, scary, haunting kind of thing. It just sounds like a dude. It sounds like a landlord who's like, angry with his tenants.
Well, if he said you need evicting and then he died,
yeah,
that would have been good.
Yeah. If he had dropped dead right then, boom. Yeah.
My note was on that one was, is this a bored god situation or scenario? Because it's what it
Yeah.
was starting to sound like a little bit.
Yeah, like he needed somebody to play with. Maybe, maybe not. He's thinking about it. He was saying that Martin and I stole his idea for a sequel with our with our news story. It's a motel. It's not a tenement building. You can still do it. Jenna, your thoughts on the first chapter of the second half, chapter 14. Any notes that you may have taken or thoughts you want to share from it?
There are moments where humor and sarcasm are a pulled punch, and stop pulling that punch, because I wanted to laugh, but the laugh didn't last as long as it should have on occasion. If you look at some of the word choices as far as irony or sarcasm goes, if that was intended, don't pull the punch. If it wasn't intended, happy accident.
Yeah.
Take it and run with it.
Yeah, we were saying, or I was saying earlier, that there were moments of this that give me real like Sam Raimi vibes, where it's scary and funny, and then other times either the scary didn't land or the funny
Yep.
didn't land, and unfortunately the result was kind of cheesy rather than either of the two. So, but I also know that that's a very hard line to walk, this whole like kind of scary, kind of funny, and balancing the two. It's very difficult. It's a very challenging first book. He actually has kind of, big balls for trying this, but
And the times when the pacing on the two not matching up is off, it's only slight, and that's
Yeah.
what makes it cheesy. It's
And
not
that's
a huge leap, Richard. It's baby steps will bring some of them together.
exactly. And the same thing with the typos and stuff, where like a good line edit and a proofread after all of the rest of the work that he's done would have cleared up a lot of that. Maybe having somebody to help out with tone, a nice little tone revision where like you can kind of make changes here and there, because like you said, usually whenever it fell short, it was very, very close. Like you were almost there, and just a slight revision would have probably done it. Would have probably done it. Okay, chapter 15. All right. Let's see. What do I got in 15? Looks like I didn't actually take any notes for 15, which means I probably kind of dug. Oh, this was the okay. So Crystal, yeah. Doo-doo-doo-doo.
I have a note here of, I think this is the fastest part that I went through,
Agreed.
only because I had the fewest number of notes for this couple of chapter range.
Yeah, I don't have any notes for this second chapter, chapter 15, and I think it's for the same reason. It moved at a really good clip. I was done before I knew it.
There were a couple of grammar errors. That was
Yeah.
about all I wrote down.
Yeah, after a while, I stopped even like highlighting those, because you got at least a couple on each page. So I was just like, he gets it. I've beat him up enough. Chowdery. Okay, so he confirmed the pronunciation in the chat, and it's chowdery. So like New England clam chowder, chowdery. That's her name. Yes.
There was
Yo.
a phrase that I think I kind of figured it out, but I've never heard it before. And this could be an American thing that we have here in America, and I just didn't know. But the draught excluder, rubbing. So it says then the door swung open, the draught excluder rubbing. And I think he uses draught excluder later. So I think I take that to mean maybe there's something on the bottom of the door, like how we have
the thing that like
weather
scrapes the door.
strips.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's the same thing. I meant to look it up and I forgot.
I read right through that, and I guess I probably like assumed I knew what it was. I did.
Yeah,
Although I've never heard that word before. I don't know if it's one of ours or one of theirs.
Okay, Richard just said, yeah, it's weather stripping.
Weather stripping. That makes sense. Yeah, I see it with a swish on the floor. Yeah, this was a pretty quick little chapter here. Yeah, I breezed right through it. How about you, Jenna? Any notes on this one? No?
16 for me. I went back and I said, I'm feeling not only that bored god
Mhm.
instance, but I was wondering, is that going to continue? Because I rewrote it a second time. So I don't know if it was just the question was still fresh in my mind or if that section just reinforced it in retrospect.
Gotcha. In chapter 16, I wrote that this sequence here with Miss Chowdhury uh, was really, really good. It put us in her head. It let us in on what she was experiencing really, really well, all the way from her and Partha riding a camel, being stuck in the torrential rain, visiting the family, all 20 something of them, like all of that, like kind of going through her head all at once. The names didn't come, like she can remember the people but not the names. Like it really puts you in that place of like, oh man, like that's sad, like, you know, when you're struggling with um that particular detriment. And it made, after that, though, the all the way down where it says where she opened her eyes, said be gone, and the voice said no, licking into her ears. That's, I think that's the one that you brought up, Shannon, unless you used it twice. Licked into her ears. And again, just the use of that word licked, just so creepy and unsettling. Really, really, really good.
I would have liked to have been more in her point of view from the beginning of the book.
Mm.
I think she was
Mm.
very interesting.
Point.
But I am a fantasy writer, so she's more of a fantastical element. That's on the opposite side of the horror, but they can share, similarities in being fantastical.
There's some overlap, sure.
So yeah, I would have appreciated more of her point of
Especially
view.
with how important she is in the end.
Right. And that's what I was thinking. That's when I saw this chapter. I was like, okay, is she going to have something to do with what's going to happen in the end of this book? And I thought, well, why didn't this come sooner? Why didn't we get more of this? And then when it happened later, I don't think we were ever back in her point of view. So when it happened later, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. There was a chapter on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. And this is also the scene where she says to him, "You know what I am. That glimpse was enough." And he says, "What you are is of no concern to me. I can fuse your life force to my own will." Um, Again, this thing with him where like he should have done something. Like he acknowledges there that he knows what she is, but he says there's no concern. But well, you should be. You should be concerned because it turns out that she's actually really powerful.
but I'm like you, I really liked this chapter. I liked a lot
Yeah.
of I felt more deep in the POV. Even where, he doesn't do a lot of description. Richard doesn't do a whole lot of description, but there's some in this one
Hmm.
that made the scene more real and vivid for me than in some of the other chapters.
Yeah,
And I
with
really
everything
appreciate
going on in the room and everything.
that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like how it took them, the new flat felt older and lived in. It didn't take very long for that to happen. And you could see that with the way he described it. And so I really liked this chapter. I think that's why I probably would have liked more of this POV too.
Yeah,
I'm
this particular
curious.
character, yeah.
I'm curious what feedback he got on this chapter in comparison to others with the beta reading processes he did then.
Sure. And and he also left me wanting more when she was sort of like casting him out towards the end there.
Mhm.
But in a good way, so to speak, where he
Yeah.
like he left you wondering how much she can actually do. And I mean, I kind of wanted her to go into some like spells, like I wanted to hear them, you know what I mean? It was good. I wanted more out of it. That was nice. What else? There's another one here. Oh, okay. So then there's another scene here where it reminds me a lot of a previous scene in the first half of the book with the daughter at the foot of the stairs when she like wanted to leave. We have a moment very similar to that again, where like a character's like ready to leave and something is keeping them there, or someone is keeping them there. So it works to establish why people are sticking around, you know what I mean, all the way to the end. The boy, I don't know how, I don't remember how old the character is, but Rajat, Mrs. Chowdhury's Mrs. Chowdhury's son. He his whole like kind of teenage angsty thing that he was doing was a little I don't know, a little cliched. I wanted to see something a little fresh done with it, especially considering Miss Chowdhury is who she is. Like, it could have been really interesting to see her put her, sage wisdom and or even maybe even her abilities into parenting a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, to help with this particular problem. It would have been interesting to see something a little new, a little different than just he was kind of throwing a tantrum.
To quote one of my students from class recently, angst is overrated, just like the MCU. And I said, now wait a minute.
Oh no, roll up those sleeves. Let's go.
I said, half of that is accurate.
Yeah,
Half
you
of
started
that
out
is
really
accurate.
good and then you messed it up.
Yes. But as a DC fan, I said, I can see where you would feel that way on his end as a comparison. So if a teenager is feeling that the angst is starting to be outdated to feed off of that, Richard, question mark?
Yeah.
Is that dating intentional?
And the other issue with him as a character for me is he sees, the sort of chaos of the setting. He sees his mother on the floor when he walks in, and when she's like, "Oh no, everything's fine," he like nods, and that's the end of it. And that really bugged me because I'm like, "That's your mom." Like, if I walked in and the house was ransacked and my mom was on the floor, that something's wrong. Something's going on. We need to let's talk about it. Tell me what happened. Like, let's go through it. Let's help her clean up the whole thing. And I don't know. It didn't ring true in the moment. And now I'm wondering how much of that is meant to be the influence of the building, of the architect, and how much of it is the character being themselves. And that's something that I'm going to want to talk to Richard next week.
I know
about.
it set me up to not really care about the character.
Yeah,
this time.
exactly. I immediately didn't care about this kid because I was like, this kid's a dirtbag. He's a piece of crap. What else? Oh, but the last couple lines of this chapter are really, really good. From where she looked up, Rajat flinched backward. Her eyes were golden, glowing with some fantastic energy. Son, do the right thing for your mother. What's that? She blinked. The golden glow disappeared. Fresh in my water, I can't stand it warm. For some reason, that ending was like, yeah, that's pretty good.
He's too used to Mama being this way a little bit, methinks.
You think that's what it is? That she's just kind of a weirdo generally and he's used to it?
But it brought up the question of why does she like it warm, or she fresh in my water she can't stand it warm.
She can't stand it warm.
It made me wonder because cold is such a thing that's used in this building to be a presence that's part of the architect in the building.
Sure.
That I wondered if her not liking things warm was also part of that. Of course, that's just me making connections.
Oh yeah, sure.
And it didn't go anywhere, so I was like, okay, whatever. They didn't. That I thought it was a detail that might have been important, but it didn't end up being important. So
yeah, no, I always read it as tying back towards the beginning of this chapter and her taking a swig of the water and it being unsatisfying. I think that the beginning of this chapter, she felt probably kind of weak or weaker and helpless. She was going through all the memory issues and stuff, and then by the end she had confronted the architect and stood up to him like a badass. So it was one of those things where I was like, I think she's just feeling a little better, you know what I mean? Like she's getting her mojo back.
That's a good connection.
Yeah. Any other notes on 16 before we move on? All right, chapter 17. There's a moment where he's talking about the lights like flickering all the time, and he mentions that it just became one of those things, and I like that a lot because it's anytime you watch a horror movie or whatever and you got the flickering lights, you immediately feel unsettled. You immediately feel, something bad is coming, the bad guy's coming, somebody's about to die, whatever. It's a creepy setting, the lights are flickering. But if the lights are always flickering, it would become something that you got used to, even if it still was a sign of evil and darkness and malevolence. You know what I mean? Like, you would just get used to it. And so that, I like that a lot.
And the fact that it smells like money.
Such a specific smell. Money.
So it smells like money. I know when he's in the lift, right? He's got the aroma of the product inside. When I imagine the product was some type of drug.
Yeah. The drug dealer guy.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Do 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 do. Yeah, not a lot of notes for me on this one.
Me neither.
Read pretty quick, got through it pretty fast. Good. It's good.
Nice setup for Act 3 with the last lines being about hope, by the way, Richard. False hope, maybe, but hope.
I hope so. I really do. Yeah, hang on to that hope.
Let's see how far it gets you.
Yeah. Chapter 18. Let's
This
see.
is the beginning of Act 3.
Yes. Yes. Beginning of Act 3. Let's see here. All the descriptions of all like the ruined metal hanging down and all that kind of stuff going on. Like my only note in that scene was that they got problems, yo. Like they got problems. What else we got going on here?
But this one is where Miss I don't remember where he put the Chowdhury, right?
Yes.
She's really cold. Mrs. Chowdhury is really cold, and that kind of connect back to her wanting her water
Yes.
not warm. So that's interesting. I guess I didn't remember that.
There's also the chapter where characters finally start talking about all the weird.
Yeah.
And I
Yes.
really appreciated that. I was like, okay, yes, let's discuss it. We're all experiencing really weird crap. People are dying left and right. Let's talk about it. Maybe we should talk about this. I think some bad forces are at work. I'm like, yeah, dude.
There was one line here that I really liked. It said, when the kids appeared in the doorway, the twilight shone on their eyes, picking them out in milky discs.
That is a good line.
And then the kids heard the music for the first time, just a couple more lines down from there. It said,
That's the part that stood out most.
yeah, we're hearing it, Ed continued. So before they didn't hear it, now they do.
But also works in the horror genre. Gonna get told off for my non-progressive take on drugs. Hey man, I already scolded you. I'm not gonna spank you twice. All right. What else? Let's see.
Well, this is where you have the first death that we didn't see, right? Liz Crombie.
Yeah, they like walk in on the body or something, right? Is that how
She was
it
in the
goes?
waste disposal chute.
That's right.
Disturbing choice, dude. Really disturbing choice. Just saying.
I like it.
Appropriate. It did exactly what he wanted, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's why I like it. Yeah, I don't have any other notes on 18. Liked it. Was good.
Okay, Jim Carrey.
Good. I love Jim Carrey.
No hate. Robin's better, just saying. Anyway.
You know, I love them both equally. I love them both equally. And when Jim Carrey announced that he was retiring, I like kind of did a sigh of relief.
Didn't he once already? Anyway, that's another
No,
topic.
like, oh, did he? I don't think he ever
I thought
retired.
he did. I
No,
thought he did.
never retired. He did art for. He's still doing art, but he did art for a while. But no, he never really retired.
Hiatus. Got it.
Hiatus.
Gotcha. All
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
chapter 1918.
Yeah, 19. Is that where we're at? Yeah. Let's see. You no doubt. Let me see. Oh, you doubt now that what we're saying is true. I've been there. I know what I saw. I'm like, the characters weren't ringing true during this conversation for me. Is I think my note here. He
We probably find age on the kids.
Yeah. He did. Hey Richard, there's a moment here where you say he went up there and never came back up.
Yeah,
think
I
he
circled
went
that.
back down. Yeah, I circled that too. Little things like that we got to catch.
Well, and then he capitalized landing and didn't capitalize landing off and on throughout this chapter.
I saw that too. I saw a lot of capital landings. I wanted to yell at him about that too.
I was like, well, which one is it? Did I have it wrong this whole time? And then I went
Yeah,
back. I was
is
like,
it
oh
a
no.
name or is it a place?
Yeah.
Gotta love Richard. Hey Margaret. Margaret's
My
here.
one thing with this is that
Hey.
with all the people that are standing around, how did they miss the kids leaving the apartment?
I think it took parents are dumb trope too hard is what I wrote next to it, question mark.
Yes, maybe. As a parent, I watch my kids like a hawk.
Yeah, me
I
too.
always know where they are.
Yes, me
However,
too.
when I was a kid, I was a sneaky little guy.
That's what I think I meant by that statement.
You know what I'm
Just
saying?
knowing what
Like,
I know my students. Yeah.
especially with everybody, like you say, there's so much going on, everybody's standing around. Like, that's a perfect opportunity for kids to be like,
I'm trying to imagine this scenario though. Mrs. Jules is standing in the doorway.
mm-hmm.
Joel is out in the hallway talking to everybody. How did the kids get past the mom in the doorway?
They went out the fire escape. And they
I was
climbed-
wondering about that. I was like, was there something else? Was there like an escape route somewhere that was not mentioned? Because how
unless
did
it's
they
a
get through the mom?
completely supernatural event where
Where they were taken,
they were snatched. You know what I mean? But there's no evidence of that necessarily, so I'm not sure. But yeah, so you're right. I forgot about the doorway. That's a good one. Good catch.
But there were some lines here that I really appreciated. The scenery, the setting. When he said, with each step, the music got louder. Then the stairs began to weep stagnant and stinking water. It dripped down the stairs, leaving silvery, slimy trails on the material. I love that.
I love
Good
that too.
use of consonants
Yes.
to match your assonance from earlier.
Hey!
You know what I was about to say. I
I was
sure
literally
what
teaching that this week. Thank you.
Very nice. I gotta learn about assonance.
They're
couldn't
both
remember how to say it.
alliteration.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how to say it.
One's
You know, they say, but
consonants, one's
that-
vowels.
Yeah.
Got it. Let's see. Ginny's here. Margaret's here. The Cheesecake Man is here.
That's Jenna's other half.
My better half, just saying. Anyway.
Welcome.
Well, if it's
welcome.
cheesecake, yeah, you got to eat that. I like
It doesn't-
cheesecake.
Yeah, it doesn't get any better than cheesecake. Giant block of cheese, can't go wrong.
Yes.
All right, chapter 20. On the kitchen counter, surrounded by dried liquid, a figure lay on the counter. Its head disappeared into the wall itself. Very cool, but used counter twice in one sentence. But the imagery is cool. The imagery is very cool.
And there's a mess up on the continuity because as they're going into the stairwell, it says Jules led the children into the stairwell. The children are gone.
That's right.
I wondered if they came back.
Yeah, but right
And
after
when-
that, it says that they're gone still. And then they find them up in the apartment. So I'm like, okay, I think maybe he had it. He probably wrote it one way and then changed it and then forgot to change that part. That would be my guess.
Yeah. Everybody charging up to floor 23. They have no weapons that I know of or special skills. Why do they think that they can end this whole thing by going up to the 23rd floor? I was a little confused by that. They're what's the plan?
Why are we Scooby-Dooing this now?
Yeah.
Was my question.
I could understand the parents doing it because their kids are gone.
Yeah.
Not really sure how they got gone, but they're gone. So I can understand them wanting to go up. But if everybody's trying to leave, I think I didn't have as much issue with that because in my mind, Joel and Jules would go because their kids are up there. Now, like Joel's like, I know that that's where they're at. Everybody else is trying to leave, but they can't take any route to go downstairs. The only way is to go up or stay in the apartment where all the deaths are happening. So
Right.
I didn't have as much issue with that part for me.
Gotcha.
I was understanding why the parents went. I didn't know if the others cared enough about someone else's kids to go. Just saying.
But they couldn't go downstairs. All of them, like the Crystal, she was trying to go downstairs and she couldn't get past the floor.
I just didn't see the motivation for them to move at all, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Well, every apartment they went into had somebody dead.
Yeah, I did like that though. The kind of tour of death. What else? I don't have a whole lot of notes on this one, which is good. It means that I was just reading without stopping, without hitting up against anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was mostly a pretty good chapter.
Other than the children being there.
Yeah. That didn't make any sense.
And if you intended to split them, Richard, we just need to know which ones you split. Just saying. If some of the kids went and some of the kids stayed.
In the first paragraph of chapter 21, the architect says, "I hope you enjoyed the entertainment I laid on for your journey to my domain." And this was another example of his his voice being inconsistent for me. Like that sounds kind of almost old worldly, my domain. But the whole rest of the book, he doesn't sound like that at all. So just little like, again, the architect himself, I think had his personality be more solidified, more layered, I would have probably enjoyed him as a villain a lot more. And he wasn't coming across as scary to the characters either in that moment, which is what was interesting to me. Is it's almost like Richard knew that he wasn't coming off as very scary, because even the characters are like, whatever, like they're just talking to him. he's threatening them, and they're just talking to him. He tells them to stop and they keep going. Like, I don't know, it's interesting.
I think the zombie guy was more scarier.
The zombie guy was cool.
That's a good point.
Yeah. But I think it's because that was built up the right way, right? Because he was built up as being an abuser, and now he's back and he's wanting to get more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, he was cool.
Yeah.
He's more relatable to more of your readers, I think, than a detached architect that I don't know if they can make up their mind who they want to be. Question mark.
Interesting. Now, the architect expresses that he's impressed by them having lasted this long, the last survivors. But, I mean, how much of that was them proactively surviving? How much of that was luck, grand design by him? Like, I don't know.
Well, and that also made you think that Mrs.
Chowdhury
died already.
Because she wasn't in the room and he said the last survivors.
Yep.
That probably was intentional, though. But that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. I was getting Brave Little Toaster vibes. Anybody else? When the vacuum cleaner emerged, I was like, oh, okay. Brave Little Toaster. Got it.
Yep. That's a blast from the past for sure, Adrian. Wow.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's my childhood. Love the Brave Little Toaster.
Don Bluth?
Don Bluth.
Wasn't? No, I couldn't remember the name of the studio. That was just making sure. Sorry.
Oh, I don't know if that was it. Actually, I don't. Yeah, that studio probably doesn't even exist anymore. Yeah, let's do a quick find out here. Studio that made Brave Little Toaster. Because I know now it's Hyperion Pictures, which I think eventually got bought by Disney, most likely. Yep, Disney.
Ouch.
They own everything.
So I do think that this chapter was important in that we finally got like the full motivation for what the architect was trying to do, which was to, rid all the tenants, which we kind of felt that. But then he also wants, the other part of that is he wants to make everybody a part of the tower that's there.
Right. He reveals that a little later as well, I think. There's also sort of his reveal that he sometimes helps, like he was helping Crystal to do what she was doing.
But what are the guidelines of who gets help and who doesn't? That's my question here.
And why didn't he allow her enough time to leave? Because he just killed TJ not too long before this. Yet when she went to go leave, he kept her in. So if he was actually trying to help her, why?
Yeah. This whole sequence right here was actually kind of soap opera for me. The sort of like back and forth between what he was doing and what they were doing, and the whole TJ thing, like all of it, like the big reveal of TJ, even though that's scary. It felt very. There was a show called The Borgias. It was on Showtime.
I watched that.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
However, in the second season, there's a moment that sucked me right out of the series, where every episode of that show, brilliantly directed, well written, well acted, all of the above. But there's a moment where his daughter, whose name escapes me at the moment, is in this scene sort of choosing a side, and she like very animatedly walks over to the other person and like does like a big like turn towards the camera and puts her arm around the person, and I'm just like, that was not good. That was very cheesy and soap opera, and sucked me out of what was otherwise a flawless, episode of television. So that's the kind of thing that's like pulling me out here, is this sort of like almost over the top kind of, again, I can't think of a better term than soap opera, that very like overacted kind of feel. Yeah.
I also I had a hard time visualizing all the movements. I don't know if you guys felt the same way, but I think they somehow got outside the tower. So was that like a balcony or something that they were on? Or maybe they weren't outside the tower. I'm not really sure. I had a hard time visualizing it.
The way that I understand it, is you have the whole building, right? And then the 23rd floor is like an additional, like almost dome shaped, like additional piece on top. You know what I mean? So there's like, it's almost like another layer of building.
I did get that. But when they were fighting, it seemed like they went through the window and was outside of the room. But then I couldn't visualize what that looked like.
Oh, no, okay. See, I'm wondering if that window is just a window inside the building rather than one that leads outside of the building.
Yeah. And yeah, that would have been helpful if I
Like,
had done that.
yeah, like sliding doors or something inside
Yeah.
a room. It is interesting. Um,
Because I was curious to room layouts at one point while reading this very section, and it kind of makes sense the way Shannon words it then.
yeah, that does ring true for me as well. When he says you have dared to vandalize the tower, I straight up rolled my eyes. The architect is not scary to me. Oh, what else? I actually have a lot of notes this chapter. What's going on here over
When he
here?
called the claw his pet. So up to this point, I was thinking that there was a separate entity in the tower that he was working for. And this way it switched the roles.
Right. Yeah, here it establishes him as the puppet master, so to speak.
Yeah.
The fact that he calls it his pet is interesting. It suggests free thinking, like it's not necessarily under his complete control.
But he said he was the one that helped kill TJ.
That's right. He does say that.
So yeah, I was a bit unclear on that. And I kind of had very heavy vibes in the beginning that the entity was separate from him and was above him or greater than him in power or whatever.
Or in some ways in opposition with him. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Let's see here. He's explaining here that he's been waiting, hoping that they'd resist his pleas for them to leave. This is how I'll make you one with the tower, etc., etc. I actually found that to be really interesting. A kind of a fresh take on stuff. I thought that was really cool. It actually reminded me a little bit of Haunting of Hill House, in the way that haunted house sort of consumes its inhabitants. This one, like making it a permanent piece of the building is kind of interesting.
It brought that feeling full circle for me. I'm sorry, Shannon.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna point out Ben's comment in the chat, running to right. I hadn't thought of that, but that's really interesting.
I felt there were other souls trapped in the apartment which he was influencing and managing. Interesting. There is a line here where Joel says, "You really have no grace," and I don't know why that choice of words. This is one of those examples of like, I know that moment is supposed to hit and it doesn't, and I don't know why. Am I missing a reference from before or something? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, it feels like that's a big moment, him standing up to him and saying something to him, but the choice of the word grace, I don't know, that threw me off.
Joel said that?
Joel said that to the architect, yeah.
Sounds like a feminine type of word choice.
Exactly. I don't know. There's just something very
that
like
could be cultural. Was
it
what I'm going to ask.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then let me see here. Then there's the line where. Oh yeah, the following note that I have right after that, where he says you have no grace. The architect doesn't even really respond to that itself. He says, but you have no means of stopping me or escaping, and it's one of those moments like earlier where the characters were not afraid of the architect. It was the same thing here, where that line was supposed to matter, and it didn't matter neither to me nor to the architect. Like it should have mattered, and it didn't. And even the character knows that it didn't matter. So like that's one of those things that I'm looking at as opportunities for fleshing out the architect a lot more.
And if the inclination is to cause a sense of frustration, just lean into the frustrating a little bit more, buddy,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
some readers will pick up on it for sure.
Any other notes on 21?
I love this line, "What a nutter." I had never heard that before until I just finished watching Humans. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that. But it's, takes place in the UK. So I was like, I heard that line over and over again.
What a nutter. Yeah, I hear that all the time. I watch one of my favorite shows is a show called Luther. It's a detective show on BBC with Idris Elba, and nutter is like in every episode. Everyone's a nutter, and it's just so funny. I love that word. All right, so 22. Let's see here. The architect
we didn't mention
responds
that was-
with... Sorry?
Sorry, in the last one, that's also when we found Raja was killed.
Yes.
So, but I didn't feel anything from that because I'm like, good riddance.
He should have helped his mom when she was on the floor. The architect responding with "some chance, old woman." Again, an example of like his tone just not hitting it for me. What else?
So
yes.
how as far as it keeps sticking out to me that the architect considers that she's the puny woman. I'm just going, why can't we see more of what we saw earlier out of this puny woman then? That would have been a nice response. Just saying.
Yeah, this is where it kind of got like superhero fight-ish for me, you know?
I liked it. But it was had fantasy elements to it, so of course I'm gonna like it. I want it more.
I mean, I like fantasy elements too. It just felt very much like like two superheroes blasting each other with like colorful blasts or something. Like I don't know, it just...
I think the part that I didn't like is that we didn't feel very connected to either one of those two parties.
Yeah, and there's little like continuity things here too, and I know that action scenes like this can be very, very difficult. One example is, let me see, a slab of the melamine worktop tore itself from the kitchen and tumbled through the air toward Joel. Nothing happens with that. Like it doesn't hit him, it doesn't miss him. It just, that line just doesn't go anywhere. And the next thing we know, we're talking about the lights dangling, quivered, arc of current. It jumps from that. And in a action sequence, like you want to be able to follow from like the thing came off, it flew towards him. What happens next? Does it hit him? Does it miss him? Like, So little things like that, especially in action sequences like this one. And man, like I have a character in my novel that has more action scenes than most other characters, and my editor's sending almost all his scenes back like, this is terrible action, do this again, like rewrite this whole thing. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty bad. Action is hard, man. Action is hard.
When you're thinking of action, pretend you're the actor, because if you can't see it as if you're doing it, it's going to be hard. And Richard, you have a theater mind. Dig into it.
Stage left, stage right.
Well, no, just think about stage fighting. Even if you know anything about stage fighting, is what I'm hinting at.
Overhead.
Use that, or just what you see people fighting as in theater productions. Think about their body movements and translate that to your action scenes to follow through with them.
Agreed.
I think part of the issue is that, and maybe this could be totally random, but if we were in one point of view, it might have been easier to follow the action scenes versus, jumping from different points of view throughout the chapter.
True as well.
Head hopping is hard.
Yeah. Yep. All right. 23. Ooh, we're closing in on the end here. The person urging everybody to shut up has the longest line of dialogue. I thought that was funny.
I didn't catch that.
Irony. That's all I wrote next to it. Irony.
Yeah. And then there's a moment where, no, you Pratt, we need to call for help. Has nobody thought of that? I highlighted that moment and wrote, bit late, innit?
Yeah. I also thought, why are they stopping? Call someone after escaping.
But I appreciate that, though. I appreciate somebody actually like stopping and going, we all have phones. Let's call someone.
It just felt like, that moment in movies, they're like action movies, and you have a romance as a secondary plot line, and they stop in the middle of all the action to kiss.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like there's a bad guy like shooting at you right now. Maybe not the best time.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Yup. Little things like when what's his name, Joel. When Joel is looking for the necklace. Is it Joel that's looking for the necklace from his wife?
No, the necklace was Mrs. Chow.
Right. So it was Mr. Chowdhury that was looking for the necklace.
Yeah.
He goes to the thing and he gets the necklace out of it, but then he's surprised to find it there because she usually wears it. He finds it odd that she's not wearing it. I'm like, well, then why are you looking for it here? When you assume that she had it, like little things like that just didn't track for me. That necklace, ended up being pretty meaningful, but I don't know. I wish it was set up sooner. Again, more time with Mrs. Chowdhury, right, Shannon?
Yeah. And what I think that this chapter, some of the issues is that he needed certain things to happen in the plot. So he made them happen by, he was looking for something he didn't know he was looking for. They had them stop to go do a phone call to call for help because they need to go look for that necklace. Where I think better choices to make those plots happen, those plot points happen, would have maybe made more sense.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. If she frequently wears it, it should have been on her. When she had her moment, it should have fallen off of her in that previous chapter. And then he should have found it by accident.
Or maybe Beth could have picked it up because she's the one that ends up holding it.
Exactly. And that way it's all like, a track of breadcrumbs rather than let me go back and get this thing that we've never even mentioned before.
Make up an excuse to stop to, and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. Good. What else? Rolled my eyes a little bit at Mr. Chowdhury talking to the necklace, but that's okay. Here's a nice line. A couple of floors passed by in a darkened blur. For some reason, that really resonated with me because living in apartment complexes before, or apartment buildings before, that kind of like when you start going down the stairs and before you know it, you're at the bottom and you don't even realize that you just went through all those floors. Like that rings really true for me.
Well, I also think of it as like if they're adrenaline filled, you don't really, some things are like hyper focused and other things are totally out of focus when you have a moment.
Yeah.
That you have that adrenaline going through you.
Yeah. There's going to be some things that stick in your mind forever and other things that just were not important and you'll never remember again. Absolutely. Jenna, your thoughts on this chapter?
No, the question I had was, when does the adrenaline stop building at this point for them? So kind of right in line. We're getting closer toward the end, and I was wondering when it's going to peak out.
Yeah. Let's see here. Next chapter. Go ahead.
Yeah, can I check on you guys on a couple of things? So at the end, TJ's there. TJ snarled once, then charged. Crystal laughed and dove into the hole. Her boyfriend's reanimated, form skidded past the hole. I took that to mean that both of them went over the side into the hole and that they were both probably dead, or at least Crystal would be. That was my assumption.
Skidded past the hole.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't read that as him falling into. I read it as
she dove into the hole.
She dove in. Yeah.
Okay. So it's still like she would be dead. At least that's what was my thought from that.
Unless the hole leads somewhere.
That's what I wanted to know was where did the hole lead?
I pictured in my head a stairwell that had pieces missing. That's what I kind of pictured this as. So when she went in the hole, that meant she fell down several flights probably.
But how many? I mean, you could fall one flight and depending on how you land, break your neck, to be fair.
Or get up and start walking, but we don't know. Right, and the very next chapter, she's talking to them.
And also, if she goes down the hole and he skids past the hole, then he should still be at least behind, after Joel and Jules here. But
And
there's
if
no
you
talk of that.
if you back up a little bit more, Mr. Duran trembled again but smiled. It was hitting home, right? So it has this. Then Mrs. Duran screamed too, seeing her husband tumble through the hole.
Hmm.
And it says everybody's eyes were drawn to where Mr. Duran had been, which told me, okay, he just died or he fell through the hole, but he's also in the beginning of the very next chapter. So I don't know if tumbling through the hole is not really as bad as it means. I felt from this chapter that tumbling through that hole meant death because this is supposed to be horror. That's what I'm thinking. But then they're both alive on the very first section of the next chapter. So I was really confused.
Maybe it's like one of those playgrounds at a McDonald's where you like fall into a ball pit or something. I don't know.
I don't think it's as comfy and probably is just as unsanitary, to be fair.
That it very well may be. Yeah. Yeah. See that, action like points go one after the other like that. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys are seeing it the same, that they
No, yeah, I am.
something happened to them, but we don't know what.
Yeah.
We assume some type of death or injury.
Yeah.
At
And
least that's what I did.
TJ's movements don't zombie TJ's movements don't track. There's that whole section is a little confusing for sure. For sure. All right. Chapter 24, the night sky outside was aflame, sheets of burning material raining down like miniature comets crashing into the car park. Love that whole like visual. Very cool.
That had sound to it in my head, dude.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Yes. In fact, that's my only note this chapter because that line was that was dope. A lot of, running for your life, crying in unison.
Well, I put that Mr. Duran died twice because he also got electrocuted on the bar.
So that
And Crystal
clarifies just the whole kill then.
He's double dead.
Yeah.
But Crystal is still alive. And I wrote the note. I think I checked on this. I said, didn't Jules have the necklace? But when Beth had it, but I think I went back and I saw that Beth had it. So I think that was fine.
Ball pit of skeletons.
I was wondering if that's what you were chuckling at.
Zelda reference.
So I had questions at the end of this. Why not just leave instead of going back in? And so I think that's in reference to Crystal going back in, or I don't remember what that was a reference. And I said, why aren't the parents doing something?
My question there is, what is the level of free will people have in this world, and is it the same as ours?
Yeah. Yeah. I voiced that earlier, right? Like, are these their actual actions and choices, or are they being influenced by the building? If they are being influenced by the darkness of the building, that should be more established or explained or driven home a little better, because if it isn't, then they're... That being said, I find myself saying that in most horror movies. Like, why are they going back in there? Why aren't they going this way? Why is she going up instead of out? That kind of stuff. And usually the big explanation is, oh, well, in a moment of adrenaline and everything, like, you're not thinking necessarily clearly and you make rash decisions and blah, blah, blah. And like, yeah, I get that. But still.
Except, why would they have let Beth go back in there?
Yeah, like
as she was getting back, I would have grabbed a hold of her and pulled her back.
Exactly. Like, even if a character is going to do something like that, the other characters are still there and should react to, like, let's protect this person. Yeah, for sure.
Is this the start of some characters no longer having that adrenaline-driven energy to care, too? Just to feed off what I said earlier, when is it going to peak out for? Because it's going to peak out for different characters at different times and not necessarily end in death, is what I'm wondering.
True.
I don't think I would have let my kid go back in there. I don't care how high my adrenaline was.
Yeah.
You would love to meet some of the parents and teachers or parents and students I work with, then, my dear. You are a better parent than some of the ones I work with. I will say that.
Or have they been in a dangerous situation?
I've literally had a parent leave their kid in a burning house before, and the kid survived. So I've seen it all in the last 10 years.
Jesus.
Seen it all, sadly.
Let's see here.
I don't think it's just where people would go to in their head, especially with the way these characters have been set up to care about their kids.
And
it's
I
not
don't know,
something that we would get from those parents.
right? And I don't know enough about this genre to know if that's a trope to play with, question mark, or not.
What, the stupid parents or the parents are not good?
No, just the not necessarily the apathetic or disconnected or the kids consider their parents stupid, just also the connection to, like I said earlier, is this just their ability to care peeking out with it? Are they too overstressed with the situation, or is Adrian saying too poisoned by whatever's going on in the atmosphere to care?
And if it was like some of the, I would love to have insight into those things, to be honest.
Very much agreed.
Especially if it was the hotel that was like poisoning, like what Adrian's saying. I would love to see a little bit of that.
You know, the whole thing with him just like looking back to the space where Beth was and then going back out to his wife, like I'm with you guys. That doesn't, as a father, as a husband, it doesn't ring true to me. And on one hand, like, yeah, there's another kid, right? But on the other hand, like, yeah, but that
You
kid's
just
with
lost
the
one.
mom. So like, how about, okay, he's gonna be fine. I'm gonna go after my daughter. Like, that's just
Right.
how it goes. You know, I don't know. Like, it just,
I need more context for the family dynamics, I think.
yeah.
And just the fact that they snuck out and their parents punished them, for sneaking out, shows that the parents have at least some level of care for their wealth and, well-being.
Yeah.
Wealth, their health and well-being. And, so the fact that they have that level of care that's kind of been established in the book, I would expect to see it here too.
And then later, you did everything you could. No, he didn't. You did what any father would. No, you didn't.
Well, I wrote, Ed is 10 years old. 10 years old are smarter than this. When
Yeah.
she's missing out on the ambulance ride. That's what I wrote it to. Oh, where's Beth? She's missing on the ambulance ride. I'm like, 10-year-olds are smarter than that.
Yeah.
You would hope, at least.
Well,
My son is autistic. He's 9. He is a couple years behind, and he would still understand if something had happened to Jay.
And that's why I said at least you would hope. Common sense is not
but
natural to some people.
It's kind of hard to say because we didn't know these kids were 10 the entire time. I was actually putting them more like 6 to 7.
Yeah,
that was my thought.
That's probably what's throwing me off is what's the developmental process there with them.
yeah.
And I really wanted to feel something for one of the kids dying, and I didn't feel it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it hardly felt like the father felt anything.
Yeah. And I do think it's that we would get that feeling probably from the other characters and their reactions to losing a family member, that you would feel that like, oh, wow, they feel this from, or however they're reacting this way to their losing a family member. And we could start imagining what that might be like.
And also, we don't see a body, right?
Yeah.
That's what bothered me the most.
I'm
Where are the bodies?
I'm a television fan. If I don't see a body, that character's not dead.
They're not dead.
Yeah. Richard, show me the body.
If they're going to hit the floor, let me count them.
Let the bodies hit the floor.
And there was some continuity in this one because he kept saying 4 characters, 4 survivors, 4 survivors. You better get 4 away. There's 4 survivors, but there was Joel, Mrs. Durand, Ed, and Mr. Shoot-Hurry was 5.
Yeah, I missed the count as well. I didn't see that. I didn't have any notes for the epilogue.
Me neither.
It was breezy. Went right through
Just
it.
other than more.
Yeah, more. Fill this out. Give me some more. You think I had enough? Give me some more. Well, ladies, that brings us to the end of our journey with Nightmare Tenant by Richard Holliday. Yay! It was fun. It was funny. At times scary. And it reminded me at times of the Brave Little Toaster. So, it's all wins.
What is this, 90s era reference night?
That's what it is. It's 90s era reference night.
I think it was a really easy read. It was the language, the syntax is very easy, very very conversational through most of it. And I actually didn't find it scary, which was a plus for me because I don't like scary. I thought the very first, was it the prologue? Yeah, the prologue. I thought that was scary. So I was expecting a lot more, and I was kind of happy that it wasn't. So
I hear that. I hear that.
So I enjoyed it for that part, and I really love a lot of the turns of phrases. So.
Yeah, I had to look up a lot of words, and that's 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 a huge badge of honor. I think that Richard.
But do you
should
think
hang
that
on
the
shoulder.
first half was more loaded with those types of phrases?
Yes.
Yeah.
Richard said it's not a perfect book, but definitely one I am proud of, and you should be.
You
And you should be. And not
Yep.
only do we love you, dude, and we like your book, as you said last time, because we didn't meet last week. All this critique stuff, man, it's all meant to make us better writers, bro. So, if anything, all I know is that I'm really excited to see where he goes next, because if this is where he's getting started, he's gonna be bringing the thunder, for sure.
You have more courage than I do, because I know my first book is also littered with a lot of these same issues, and I don't want it done here.
Some of us are rebranding for a reason, Shannon. Just saying. Anyway,
I'm going to rebrand in 11 years. I'm going to follow Jonah Penn's example. She waited 11 years to redo her first series because she felt like she was a better writer, and
I can't afford to wait that long. Sorry, I got to start recouping money now.
Yeah. Well, see, I haven't even published the first book in my series, and I'm already like planning on, after the third one comes out, going back and doing a nice little edit on the first one, because you just know that by the time you get to the third book, you're gonna be so much better at writing.
Oh, I was by the time my third book, I can see how much I improved. So
For sure.
And I mean, but for me, I feel differently. I don't feel like I'm going to go back and do it now, because I think the best way to make money is to move forward and keep writing more books and getting more experience.
I can appreciate that
that's
too.
my personal thought.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. You are
But
not wrong.
if you're strapped for money, which I'm trying to do my next series as cheap as possible, I have found a book cover design. They have a website, or they have a YouTube channel. They'll do it $35. They'll do your book cover, your ebook, and your paperback. So, and I've seen how them, and they do it. Their channel is set up where they show how they put these book covers together. So I'm like, oh, I like that, and it fits my genre.
What's the name of it again?
What's the name of it? Get Book Covers, I think.
I think that's what you told me 2 weeks ago.
Getbookcovers.com is their website, and then their YouTube is something close to that.
Getbookcovers.com. Like this? On the screen? All right.
I think so.
All
yep.
Right. Go check that out, folks, because that sounds
$35
cool.
for the book, the ebook, and the paperback. And I'm like, that's cheap. I can do that. I've set it up with, if Jenna is so good, by the time we get there, we're going to exchange manuscripts and edit each other's manuscripts.
Nice.
And I've also set it up with my girlfriend, who has an MFA on writing, who's been self-publishing for many years, to also switch manuscripts with her as well. And she's going to edit my manuscript. So I don't know who I'll run it through first, but that way it gets a second set of eyes.
Awesome.
And I have a whole thing. So it is going to be, my next series is going to be done as cheap as possible, because this is going to take a long time for me to recoup the $4,000 I put out on my first series.
I still have 2 more books to write before my series is done, so keep that in mind.
Yeah.
I'll give my thoughts on rewrites, re-edits in the interview. Wink. Yeah, cool, cool. And you don't have to rewrite your first book. I definitely don't think that you should.
It's a choice.
But a nice line edit wouldn't be bad.
Which I've marked almost everything in the book by page. So if you want my notes out, I don't mind sending them to you.
Boom. That's quite the offer from Miss S.T. Houston over here. Ladies, I believe it is that time. Our nominees for the next Tuber Book Club book. Dun, dun, dun. So, The Infinite, M.K. Williams. Beastly, the Guardian Series Book 1.
Are we getting a female this time?
Jay Noble. Well, my pick is once again Tracker by Bethany Votas. So that is 3.
I'm going back and forth between her and Margaret until one of them get it. Dang it!
Yeah. Very nice. Very nice.
I think mine is never going to get picked, because y'all don't really know who M.K. Williams is.
It might. Well, we're not the ones. We're not the only ones voting on it.
I
Anyway.
know.
Yeah, it might. It might.
Yeah, I
Have
know.
faith.
It's
Have faith.
funny.
Campaign for it, like Richard did.
I barely have time to campaign my own book.
Right.
Richard, run a class or a seminar on that, dude. Serious.
Whoever.
Serious. Charge $20 a person. That was ingenious with the newsletter.
Dude, yeah. I mean, I got signups from that. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And we'll get Barrett's pick up here, and Colin's pick as well. We'll add that. And if I ever hear back from Tyler, I'll get his too.
Is Colin staying part of the Tuber Book Club? Because I thought he said he was taking a break from YouTube.
He said he's taking a break from YouTube for some family stuff. It was a bit of a family emergency that is going to be a prolonged experience for him. So he's definitely in our thoughts. Because he's in our thoughts, I want to get his pick anyway. He may not be able to be here, but he can at the very least nominate somebody.
Gotcha.
Much love, Colin.
Yeah, much love, Colin. He's the best. Okay, so we have our 3. We're gonna get the next 2, maybe 3, depending on Tyler. And I should be posting that up either tonight or tomorrow morning for everybody to start voting on. I'll let everybody know through the newsletter and all my socials and everything like that, so everybody can go vote. Next week, we're interviewing Richard Holliday, same bat time, same bat channel. And then we are off for July because I am doing some filming. I'm flying up to Buffalo to do some crazy stuff up there. I am wrapping up the edit on my manuscript. So
And
by
we've
the
got
end
the
of
AWC.
that's right. So
Some of
July
us have a
is
vowel renewal.
there. Oh, nice. So congratulations. So July will be a quiet month on the Books by Adrian channel. We might get like some writing sprints here and there if I have time, but for the most part, just follow me on socials and everything like that. Follow everybody here, SD Houston, Jenna O'Malley. Hello. And like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Vote Tossum gets my vote. Very nice. Because he's in our thoughts. I want to get his books in. Honest. Oh. All right. Yo. What is the AWC SD Houston?
It is the AuthorTube Writing Conference, which is coming to the YouTube AuthorTube community in July of 2022. Tomorrow, we have an announcement schedule on our channel, so please check that out. It'll be the first time that you get to see some of our people who are signed up. No, it's going to be all of our people, except for Richard, if he doesn't get it in time, because he's our only one who has not submitted his fixed proposal.
Hey-o, getting called out.
Getting called out. He said he's going to get it to me today, and I haven't got it yet, which that's why he said earlier in the chat that he owed me an email. So he's the only one on the website, which is going to go live sometime tomorrow, that does not have anything for him.
Richard.
I'm going over
Richard.
the website one more time before bed, Richard.
Awesome topic, but found that was probably too much to do in the time period he had. And so he's, oh, yay. Okay, I will get that sent to you right away, Jenna, as soon as we get off of here, because Jenna's the one who's our tech person. She's awesome with all that. So everything you see that's beautiful on our website is from her.
Woohoo.
So, but yes. Okay, great. So we'll have a complete website tomorrow then with our announcement that we do. So
Very exciting. Yay.
And then don't forget to submit first page critiques. So
yeah.
I probably should have given you the link for that.
Feel free to send it to me after
you.
this, and I'll throw it into the description afterwards.
It's open to July 3rd. You can submit up to 250 words for our first page critique panel. We have Alyssa Matasik, who is on an editor on the traditional side, and she was in was she in acquisitions? I don't remember now.
Think so.
I don't remember her exact position, but she was an editor, and she used to work for the literary agency. And then
you know what, Shannon? If you have the link, throw it in the private chat, and I'll put it into the live chat.
I would have to go find it.
That's okay. Then don't worry about it. Send it to me afterwards if you want. It's
okay,
no problem.
I will do that.
Either way.
So, who's our other person?
Oh.
Trying to remember, Jenna. Who's our?
I was going to
Rachel.
Say, I didn't want to misspeak. I think it's Rachel.
Rachel Lackman Singh. I think if I said her name right. Yeah. And we're waiting on one more person to confirm. So for our panel.
Yep. And I'll update the website accordingly whenever they do, even if it's after tomorrow, so everyone knows for sure.
Yay.
Very nice. You guys run a tight ship over there, huh?
Yeah. Jenna, she's like, come on. What are we doing next? Come on.
Let's go.
What are we? She's really good at
if
it.
she goes quiet too long, I let her know.
Yeah, she does. She's like, hey, what are we working on next? And usually I am working on stuff like in my head, but she's like, this is what we should be doing next. And she'll send me an email like laying out the plan for the next thing. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. We were supposed to be doing that next. Because we talked about everything in the very beginning. We laid it all out what we were going to do, but she's the one that's been keeping us on the plan.
I was gonna say it's always so nice when you have somebody in the group that is like so like organized and
have
schedule
to.
oriented like
I
that.
was doing that. Thank you.
You
Question
were.
mark?
There's like a lot of stuff that you sent me emails. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. We did say we were good. Like the email you sent me about the giveaways. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. We were supposed to be doing that.
Oh, thank you. You just reminded me of something. Let me
Yes.
throw this into the chat here. So
Actually, Books by Adrian, would you
yes,
I was just
be
about to
interested
ask. We
in
want some of your
donating anything to the
shirts.
AWC to give away?
is there a what's the deadline again?
Talk to us after. Talk to
Okay.
us after.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to throw it into the chat here so that it'll be clickable. On the website, I have the 2-question survey that I'm still running. It's going to help me to finish up the courses that I am filming next month. There are 3 days left for people to fill out the survey. And when you fill out the survey, you get entered to possibly win a $100 Amazon gift card. So let me throw this in the
I think
chat.
I filled that out like the minute you sent the first newsletter.
You
Amazing.
are, yeah, you're on it. You hopped right on it. Okay, so I put it into the chat. I'm gonna pin it to the top just in case. Done and done. So it is clickable. So if you have not yet done that, it's 2 questions. It takes you less than 2 minutes to answer those 2 questions, and then by the end of it, you're entered to win a gift card. We're gonna pull the winner on I believe the 17th, so 3 days from now, and we'll either announce it that same day on the newsletter or the next day. All right, ladies, anything else that we need to cover before we leave today?
I think that's it.
Bethany recently
Living.
purchased something from me, and she said the same thing that Martin said, which was that it was surprisingly comfy. And so if that's not a ringing endorsement, I don't know what it
There
is.
you go.
Hoodies by Adrian.
We have Author 2 Writing Conference March too.
He sure does.
Hop on it, people. Hop on
And
it.
it
BBA will also
disappears
come in.
after the conference.
Wait, I don't know who this is.
This is my producer. This is my producer, Safi.
Oh.
It says Books by Adrian will also donate a $100 Amazon gift card to the AWC tomorrow. I did not know this. This is news to me. Thank you, Safi.
Yes, thank you.
He is my producer, and
Wow.
his partner is our financier, so to speak. So
Thank you.
So we're getting into it, and this is a lovely little contribution. Thank you very much.
Thank
buddy.
you so much. That's way more than what we expected,
And,
honestly.
and especially thank you for putting my name on it. I really appreciate that. Yes, photos and reviews of my merch, and I'll make a promo with you guys in it, and it'll be awesome. You know how I do. Woohoo! Keep it up, AuthorTube. All right,
Yay.
folks. Thank you very much for being here, everybody in the chat. Shannon, Jenna, thank you for joining me. Thank you for your thoughts on the book. Join us all again next week, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, for our interview with Richard Holliday, where we get to find out just what the hell was going through his mind when he thought of that shower thing. All right, y'all. Right on, writers. We out.